Can we hear it start up?
Sure can.
So it's a one-piece tilt front end now.
It's a 66 Fairlane.
This is my office right here.
Hi, Randy Bybee, Awesome Cars Forever. I'm here today with Joe Hanshew, and he's going to tell us about his 1965 Corvette Stingray.
Hello. I bought this 65 about 3.5–4 years ago. When I bought it, it was red. Had a lot of things going on, but I've always wanted a C2, and since I was in high school, so this was my opportunity. My brother and I, Rick, my brother Rick, he's a master mechanic for General Motors, and he was my right-hand man. He came to the house, and we spent a lot of time. We took the car completely down to the body and frame. I didn't take the frame or the chassis off. It was in good condition. I didn't feel like that there was anything down there that needed to be replaced. I took it to a Corvette guy, and he looked the chassis over well and said, yeah, you could change some of your rubbers and things like that, but it's not necessary. Everything's looks good, and it does ride good, and it holds the road well, so I'm glad I didn't go to that expense. So anyway, we took everything off the body, took all the windows out, all the chrome, everything on the body, and took it up to Elwood, and I had a gentleman up there.
So all this chrome here has been replaced?
It's all correct to the car. It come off the car, but I put it back on. It is the original chrome that was on the car, all right? The only chrome on this car that they remanufacture or make reproduction for is the chrome that goes around the front windshield, goes on the windshield. And these little pieces right here, you can get those replaced, but everything else on here has to be original, because they're not reproduced.
Okay.
So if you lose one of them, then you're going to have to pay big money to replace
Well,
it.
yeah, if you can find one even.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I found this one online about 2.5–3 weeks ago, because mine kept blowing off, and I bought this one for well over $200 and put it back on the car, and I had to do some things to it to straighten it out and make it fit, but it fits on there well. So but that's just one thing that when you get into a car like this, it's things you run into. There's a lot of things reproduced for the Corvette, but then there are a lot of things that aren't. So you have to go out and find, if you want something that matches your date codes or things of that nature, then you have to go out and search for them. And that's some of the things we've done, but most of the stuff on the car, everything that I found on the car that was original to the car, I tried to keep it on the car, and there are several things that are that way.
Now, did all the 65 have these right here?
Yeah, all 65s had these vents, and these actually worked.
Really?
There's a fan inside there that would, when you had the air conditioning on or the windows rolled up, you turn the fan on, and that would exhaust any buildup or keep fresh air in the car. Now that I don't have that hooked up. I would have had to buy the motor and all that for it, but I didn't hook that back up to the car. That's non-operative right now. But
Okay.
it's,
Okay.
you'll see a lot of these that are chrome, and those are aftermarket.
Mm-hmm.
These would have been painted the same as the car. This is the same thing here on these grills up here. These were originally chrome when I bought the car. That again is aftermarket. So I had my body man, he sandblasted the chrome off and painted them the same color as the car. So
Turned out really nice.
yeah, yeah. So Jason Cox is the one that done my body work. That was up at Elwood. He done all the body work and done all the painting for me. After that was done, it was shipped back to my house, and I put it in the garage. And my brother spent the rest of the 2.5 years that we were working on it, putting all the body back together, putting all the parts on it, reinstalling the engine, transmission. I didn't take the rear end out. The engine was not correct to the car when I bought it, so I sold it and bought a correct numbers or a correct engine or correct block and heads for it, and had them dated to be correct for this car. And of course the block was dated, but you have to put the VIN number and things of that nature, the build of the engine, whatever it is. This being an L79, you have to have those identification marks on there too, so that was put on the block. But the numbers, you know, the date code of the block and the mold numbers, everything are all correct for the date that this body in this car was built. That was in late 64, 1964 in December is when this car was built, put together. The body came from A.O. Smith, which is in Detroit. They built they built about half the Corvette bodies in 1965. This one was 4014 build in 65, and it come from A.O. Smith. And one of the things that stand out from an A.O. Smith body that were pre-built, that were built before the 4800 VIN numbers. This flag here, if you will notice on all your other C2s, these flags sits over here like this. Well, when the first bodies that was coming out of A.O. Smith, the I can't think of, but where they set it, they misplaced it. If you'll notice, this sits right over here.
Right.
It sits right over that back fin between those there.
Instead of the middle one.
It should be right here.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. When I found that out in the manual, I moved this back to here where it should be for this car. Okay, because for this body, for when it was built. So I found that in the manual that tells you how to build your cars up to you know, to what they should be, or what their what the right build would be, and the right placement of everything it is on this car. Those are knockoff rims on there. There's 1965. They're aftermarket only by the fact that you didn't get these. You didn't get these actually from the factory. Okay, so that's the way that they came.
I noticed the red, white, and blue right there.
Right. Yeah. Now those, all those little caps have been replaced, and those are just that's in the condition that I got them as far as the knockoffs, but you have to use a hammer to knock those off and put them back on. So that's you have to be careful with those because you have to keep them tight. If you don't keep them tight, then there is a possibility that they will come off. But that's the only reason that occurs is normally because they're not installed properly to start with. They have to be put, those knockoffs have to be put on a certain wheel. You can't put a one for the right front in the back.
Really?
No, they won't, or on the left side. If it's for the right side or the left side, it has to go. It has a special identification on the knockoff itself. Okay, so you have to be careful with that. Whoever takes them off, puts them back on, needs to know what they're doing with them. Okay, so.
So is this like the original antenna back here? Is this the original? Oh, and you were talking about the chrome earlier, but I mean, are these the original bumpers too?
These are the original. These are the original bumpers that came on the car. The only thing that they have been re-chromed. I took them off. It was cheaper for me to take those off and send them out to have them re-chromed than it would have been to replace them with repos or pops, is what a lot of people call them. The license plate is, correct for the year.
Right.
And the ADA is for Tipton County, and the only reason I went ahead and got an ADA is because I was born in Tipton County.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why that's on there.
Now, did you do anything to this too, or just was it in that good a shape, or?
Yeah, it was in that good a shape when I bought it, and that when I bought the car. Now you can see, there's discoloration. See all your bumps and everything down here. You can tell that's been on this car.
Oh yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
This is the original cap. Okay, or closure. Now in here is the original cap that came with the tank. See, that's the original paint right there.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
That was on the car. Okay. Now this is an exact match to this paint. The only difference is this has been updated to the paint code that we have now. This is not enamel, but it's the paint code that they use now. It does have metallic in it. When the bright sun's on it, you'll see more of the metallic in it. As far as I know, that antenna is original to the car.
Okay.
It may not be, but as far as I know, it was on there when I bought it. A lot of things had to be replaced on it. Like when I bought the car, instead of having these rocker panels down here, which is what the 65 should have, I had they were 67s, and I took those off, and of course these are reproductions, and put them
right.
The windows, some of the glass matches, and some of it don't. The windshield and the back glass have both been replaced. So they're not, date code's not correct on those.
Okay.
But that's no problem.
Can we look in the interior?
Oh yeah.
If the old man can get down that far.
Yeah.
Now, is that the original steering wheel?
That is the original steering wheel. This has a Hurst shifter on it. It's got the transmission is the M21
from Muncie.
Close ratio.
Right.
Yes, Muncie. If you'll notice, like on your glove box there, you see the wear and tear on that glove box.
Right.
That was original to the car. I mean, I didn't replace it. there are things in the interior of the cluster over there. I took the cluster out, and it's all, the cluster was what was in this car from the factory. The heater and radio are correct to the car. The seats are leather. This should have vinyl, but I put leather in them.
They feel really comfortable.
Yeah. Of course, that all the carpet's been replaced in it. I didn't do it when I bought it. It was already replaced. I didn't think it was bad enough to change. The door panels are new. The ones that was in it were from two different bodies. Had different dates on them and everything else, so I didn't see any sense in having to keep those.
Now, and forgive me if you said it right, a lot of cars back in the day from the factory came with a Hurst shifter. Did this one come with a Hurst shifter?
That
I mean, I'm just curious.
I don't really know. I can't say that, but I would say yes, because everything that was on the transmission, I had to replace all the, you know, there's little buffer, little, I don't know what you call them. You have brass or metal, stainless steel bushings in your shifter. Well, mine were all wore out, so I had to replace those. And it had all the dates and everything on the shifting mechanism, all the matching, all the numbers and everything on that were correct for the early shifter. So I'm saying this probably came from the factory.
That's good.
Yeah, and being an L79, that would fit right into that. So I'm pretty sure that it is, but if not, it was common for that to be installed on the cars. The rear end in this vehicle is not correct to the car or the period. Well, it came off of a it came out of a 1969 Corvette, and it's for a 429 or 427. I'm sorry, a 427 automatic, and it's a yeah 08.
Okay.
It's an 08 rear end. So that's for more, you know, it being an automatic 427, and if they're going to race it, the automatics had a lot more advantage over a 4-speed or over a stick because of the shifting being automatic and everything else. So you didn't lose that split second.
Right.
So there was a lot of 427s that had this rear end in it, and it's also a 7-leaf instead of the 9. So that makes it a little bit stiffer. Stiffens up the ride, but you also got better cornering. Stays a little leveler. You don't get as much lean to it. So I'm happy about that part.
Oh yeah.
But and that's just something you live with. There's one of this came from the factory with what they call the off-road exhaust. This has the 2.5-inch exhaust on it, which was common for the car. But you couldn't get on these anything from A.O. Smith. You could not get your mufflers or
the side
pipes. You couldn't get those on a A.O. Smith car. You could only get those in ones that were the body that was built in St. Louis.
Right.
So a lot of guys put these what they called the off-roads, and they were kind of flat. instead of being round, the tailpipes, instead of being round like this, they're kind of oblong. They're flat on the top and the bottom. That gives you, they set up higher, it gives you more clearance. So if the guys were racing them or things like that, then they wanted a little bit more clearance. So they get what they call the off-road type. So that's what's on this one, which is, and they're original. And see, that makes me wonder if the car didn't get driven as much as it might have been. You know, maybe it wasn't on the road for a long time, sitting somewhere, because that one, the driver's side over there, that whole exhaust system is original to the car. Now the one on the passenger side's been replaced.
Okay.
It's got the round. So I mean, just little things like that I've noticed about the car that means a lot to me.
Oh yeah. So
You want to look under the hood?
yeah,
Okay.
let's go up there.
Yeah, don't need all those leaves in there, do we? Now, there's one other thing that A.O. Smith body cars had when they came out of the plant in St. Louis. See the green catches for your lockdown, for your hoods or your hood releases. Those are green, and that's the way they should be when they came out of the plant in St. Louis. If it was a A.O. Smith body, those were green. If you notice, I noticed you're taking a picture of the valve covers. Those are not correct for this car.
Okay.
If you'll notice right here,
Okay.
see that line?
Uh-huh.
That was introduced in late '65. The mold cracked, and
Really?
they repaired it poorly, but they didn't care. They just wanted to get production back up. So this was in, if you have a real late '65 and all of '66, and maybe on, I'm not sure about that, has this line in it.
Really?
Yeah. So this shouldn't be any paint on it. This shouldn't be paint. That line shouldn't be there, and this should be the same color as this.
Right.
I tried to keep everything else as numbers matching as I could.
And I noticed there's some chrome down here, and
Right. This was all for the radio. You know, this was all this chrome you see on here was to keep static from the radio.
really.
Yeah, so that's what that was for. Now most cars, some of your later cars didn't have to have that. This one here doesn't really have to have it because I have ignition. I have the transistor ignition on this. It actually has the correct distributor in there.
Right.
But inside, we took everything was taken out, and then there's a little transistor in there. And that transistor is what fires, okay? It fires with it runs just like a distributor, and it fires properly, but it takes more power. So you have to be careful. If you do have one of those, you have to have a higher rated alternator.
Okay.
You have to have a 52 or something like that. A 32 won't run on it, or 37. I think it's a 37.
Okay.
37 amp won't do it, so you have to go up to a higher amperage. I found that out after I went out and bought a rebuilt 37 and put it on here, and it wouldn't keep my battery charged. It ran terrible. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Anyway, I went back to the original alternator that was on the car when I bought it, and it's a 52, and it runs perfect. Battery stays charged.
Great.
So happy about that, that's for sure. So,
Can we hear it run?
yeah. You want me to leave?
Yeah, leave the hood up. Let me go back behind here and sounds really smooth.
Yeah. It rides nice. I'm real happy with it. Runs great. The radio works. Can't get much on it, but
Right.
FM, get a few FM stations and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
nothing has the oldies on it, so you know, the old songs from my period, so I don't listen to it much.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you for being on the show today. This has been a pleasure. I've learned a lot, and this is one beautiful Corvette.
Well, thank
One beautiful Corvette. So.
Thank you. I sure appreciate you asking me, Randy, and I hope everybody enjoys the video. I didn't talk too much.
No, you did not. But I want to thank all my subscribers, and if you like what you see, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the next Awesome Cars Forever. Thanks.